Victor Company Titan 1022 or Magpul Hunter X-22? Which is best for your 1022? Let's find out. I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and today we are going to talk about stocks for the 1022, specifically for National Rifle League 22 competition. And it seems like if you are running a 1022 in NRL 22 competition, there's probably one of two different stocks that you are running on it. And I've got both stocks here, and we're going to talk about them here today. Before I get much further in this, I am going to mention that Victor Company did send us the Titan 1022 to review. The Hunter X-22 from Magpul I purchased with my own money just to be able to actually get a good comparison between the two. Although neither company has had any input on this review, so they're not trying to sway us one way or the other. What you're getting is my honest opinion on how the two stocks function. The first stock that I'm going to talk about is the Magpul Hunter X-22. Now the Hunter X-22 is a really nice overall stock. It checks all the boxes in that it gives you adjustable length of pull with spacers that are included with the stock, and then it also gives you an adjustable comb height by way of additional comb units that drop in that are purchased separately. So you do generally have to buy a separate piece because the factory X-22 stock comes with a comb that is too low for large objective optics on a 1022. When we move forward from that, we have a really nice textured pistol grip here. We have a really nice molded in inlet for the 1022 action, and one of the really novel features on the X-22 stock is this barrel spacer block that is in here. Now the barrel spacer block is two-sided, and when you get it, you can take out the 3 screws that run down the middle of the channel here, and then you can flip the spacer over. It comes with the narrow sporter channel up, but you remove those screws and flip it 180 degrees and then screw it back down, and it has the bull barrel channel in here. In addition to that, there also is 2 spacer wedges or 2 support pad wedges included that allow you to put a pressure pad in the barrel if you wish to do so. These just drop into the barrel channel, and there is actually a set screw that is accessible through one of the M-lock slots in the bottom of the forend that allows you to adjust the pressure that you place on the barrel. Or of course you can go without those and have your barrel fully free-floated, depending upon how you decide to set it up. Now, also on the forend, one of the big advantages of the Magpul Hunter X-22 is that it is M-lock compatible. So you have 3 M-lock slots at the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock position. So if you wish to do so, you can do like I've done here and add an extra single M-lock rail, so that allows me to attach a Picatinny rail equipped bipod if I wish, or you can go ahead and get one of their standard sling stud standard sling stud M-lock adapters and drop that in there and attach a standard sling stud equipped bipod. Overall, the stock is really rigid. There is not a whole lot of flex in here, especially when you're using it. I didn't notice any flex at all. The forend has a really nice profile to it. It does flare out here towards the bottom, so you have a bit of a beaver tail, and that really helps lock your hand in when you're shooting the stock offhand. There are a couple of drawbacks to this that I really didn't like, though. The first being the inlet and the action mounting point here is just injection molded plastic. There's really not any support there. The screw goes right through plastic. There's no aluminum pad, no pillar, nothing to actually support the action itself. Now, when we come back and we look at the rest of the stock, the pistol grip, I really don't like the angle of the pistol grip for target shooting. This is a great stock. If I was going to shoot it offhand all the time, then that pistol grip angle is just fine. But for target shooting, I really like to have my hand swept a little bit further forward and a little bit more of a vertical grip. a lot of that is personal preference, but I find that just gives me a little bit better trigger finger control. So in this instance, when I'm shooting this stock and I'm shooting prone for accuracy, I usually end up floating my fingers on the front of the pistol grip. Now that works out just fine with the nice heavy texture that Magpul puts on the front of the grip, and then also the textured palm swells on the side. The palm swells are really understated, but the texture is really aggressive, so you can get in there and grab it and you're not going to slip around on it any at all. The back of the stock comes up even with the back of a factory 1022 receiver, so you have a nice sweep from the pistol grip up, and that allows you to ride that thumb up there if you wish to do so, which is a preference on my part. I like to run my thumb up same side or float it on the top of the tang of the receiver. Although this is a semi-automatic rifle, so you're not running the bolt, so if you want to wrap your thumb around the backside, it's really not that big of a deal. Now, as far as sling mounting, that's one of the points that I really have to ding the Magpul stock for, because you do have the ability to put a M-LOK QD on the front here, and then they do have the inlets in the stock here to add QD cups in the sides of the stock, but those are all additional pieces that you have to buy. The comb is an additional piece that you have to buy. So you end up buying the stock, and then to actually be able to really use it, you end up having to buy a whole lot of extra pieces, even just to mount a bipod on it. Now there is a divot in here, so if you really wanted to, you could drill a hole and you could just put a regular threaded stud in here. But you know, I don't know if I really want to drill into plastic and then thread into plastic up here at the fore end, where I'm going to put a lot of force on that bipod stud. So I would go with the M-LOK bipod stud if that's the route that you're going to go. Obviously, I went with the Picatinny rail route. So overall, it's a solid stock. The accuracy between the X-22 and the Victor Company Titan 1022 were very, very comparable, almost identical. So it's really not something that I can chalk up to one stock being more accurate than the other. So the mounting point thing is just an issue that is a personal preference thing at this point. The receiver did bolt in just fine, and we are using a factory 1022 receiver with a Green Mountain barrel. So it bolted in just fine. I didn't have any wiggle or any movement, but if you do have any movement, there's no way to adjust it in the Magpul stock. It is what it is. You're going to have to go in and actually bed the receiver or bed the trigger group into here to take out any play. Now, the Titan 1022 is really more similar to a Macmillan A5 type rifle stock. So if you have an A5 on a bolt gun, then this is going to be fairly similar. It's not exactly the same, but the grip angle and placement and the comb and everything when you get on the rifle is very similar. That is also one advantage, though, to the Magpul X-22. If you happen to have a rifle, a Remington 700, say, equipped with a Hunter 700, then you can equip a 1022 with the X-22, and they will feel very similar between the two. The angles and the setup can be exactly the same. So back to the Titan 1022. Now I do have the action mounted in here, so I can't show you the inside of the barrel channel, but there really is not a whole lot to see in the barrel channel. The overall outline of the stock is one of the reasons that I prefer shooting this over the Magpul X-22. Now, these are both polymer stocks. I will say one thing. I'd say the Magpul forend feels a little bit stiffer than the Titan 1022 forend. There seems to be a little bit more flex, in my opinion, in the Titan 1022 than in the Magpul. I haven't seen that impact accuracy, but it is there. Now, when we come back, the main difference that I really like that caused me to make my opinion between the two stocks is the pistol grip angle. The Titan 1022 is almost a vertical grip, and that just places my hand and my wrist in a position that I prefer for precision rifle shooting, and it still works great in the offhand position as well, so I just really prefer that angle. The palm swells are a little bit larger on the Titan 1022 versus the very narrow palm swells on the Hunter X-22, And then back here, you still run into the same problem in the actual comb of the rifle. Now you'll notice on the Titan 1022, I have a cheek riser here. This is a cheek riser made by Victor Company. It is an additional purchase though after you buy the rifle. Now it's just a saddle cheek piece with plastic spacers, and once you get it set up and where you want, you do have to drill holes down through the top of the stock and put screws through to hold it in place. Now once you actually got it in place, you can change the number of spacers that you have in here just by unscrewing it, putting the new spacers on, and then screwing it back in. That's not a problem at all. But again, it's an extra purchase because without it, you can see this comb is just way too low to be able to use a large objective scope. And on the Athlon scope here, I find that I need the cheek piece itself and then 2 spacers to get it lined up for where it's comfortable for me. Now, coming back to the buttstock, here is one of the biggest problems with the Titan 1022, and something that you want to be aware of. If you are a larger shooter, you have longer arms, or you're taller overall, the Titan 1022 has a fixed length of pull. There are no spacers available for it. Now, obviously, if you really like this stock and you want to use it and it's still too short for you, you can do the old school, take some isomat and cut some spacers out and then riggers tape them on here. That works just fine. It doesn't impact the functionality of the stock at all. But I hate having to rig things up. I really do want to see Victor Company release some spacers for this guy that allow you just to pull out the screws in the butt pad, slap some spacers on, and be good to go. Additionally, I would like to see those spacers included with the stock. That way there's nothing additional that you have to purchase. So right now you do have to purchase the comb separately, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat, if you order the stock from Victor Company and you're going to mount a scope, go ahead and order the comb and the spacers. Just assume that that's required to order when you get the stock. Same thing with the Magpul. Just assume that you are going to need to get a cheek piece when you order the stock. The advantage between the two, though, is with the Victor Company cheek piece, you can order it, you can bolt it in. If you get on it with the 2 included spacers and you find that it's too low, then you can order additional spacers to the point that you need. With the Magpul setup, you get several different options in the package, but if you have to go beyond that, then you have to order another one, and then you've got extra pieces laying around. I just really am not super pleased with the way that Magpul did their cheek spacer system on this guy. It would have been nicer if there were some kind of spacer segments that you can put in to get the comb to where you need it. So the butt pad on the Victor Company Titan 1022 is a hard rubber. Not a big deal, obviously, because this is a 22 that we're talking about. It doesn't recoil. But this is a nice balance between grip versus smoothness, so it's not constantly grabbing your clothes and pulling on them, but once you get that butt pad seated in your shoulder, it tends to stay there. It's not sliding around. So the butt pad is comfortable. It works very well. Now, one thing that I really do like on the Titan 1022 is it does have a butt hook here. So you can get that support hand up in here, and it has a relatively flat surface for riding the bag if you take the rear sling swivel out, which I have not done so yet, but will be doing so very soon. On the Magpul, you don't have a butt hook, but they do have kind of a narrowed area down here that allows you to get your hand up underneath. And it does have a nice flat spot to ride the bag, and that flat spot is larger depending upon how many spacers you put in to move that butt back. But I really do prefer the more traditional A5 style hook in the buttstock. Again, personal preference, which a lot of the selection between these two are. One neat little thing that Victor Company did do on here is on the aluminum tang that you have coming back from the receiver, they have 3 little dots that allow you a thumb index point. You can really feel it with your thumb, so you can get that index point and get your hand in the same place every time. Now that is a little bit high for where I like to have my hand, so I have a little piece of Talon grip tape down here, so I know my thumb needs to go right on that piece of grip tape when I'm lining up my trigger finger. Really easy, simple mod. You don't have to use Talon grip tape. You can use skate tape, traction tape, or you can just take a soldering iron, stipple some dimples in there for you to find your thumb to drop into. Now let's talk about the bedding in the Titan 1022. It has a couple of really interesting tricks up its sleeve. There is an aluminum bedding block in here that the receiver actually tightens down against, so when you put your mounting screw through, you are tightening it into the receiver and you are tightening down on a piece of aluminum, so you don't have to worry about crushing the plastic in there, which is probably not really a big thing on the Magpul stock because you're only tightening that action screw down to about 15 inch-pounds. One of the nicer things about the 1022 is this back tang portion is aluminum in here, and that extends down into the trigger guard, and there is a set screw in the rear mounting portion for the receiver, and you can extend or retract that set screw to make that a tight fit for the rear of your receiver when you slide it in there. So if there's a little bit of slop between the trigger group and the receiver, you can take that up with that screw. Now I have mine all the way in on this. It is a nylon tip screw, and at some point in time the nylon tip went missing. But the screw is all the way in for this receiver to fit, and there is no wiggle or no play in the back here, so that is appropriate. It seems to work just fine. But it is nice that they included that because there can be quite a large difference between the specs on the 1022s. Now, if you have a kid receiver, there is an interesting additional thing. You can get a replacement rear block for this that accommodates the rear tang function in the kid receiver. So this is a great option if you have a kid setup because you can bolt that in there and then have your rear point in addition to your forward mounting point. One of the few drawbacks of the 1022s is there is only one action mounting screw in it, so it's not mounted as rigidly to the stock as some other rifles are. Now the forend on the rifle has a really pleasing beaver tail type design, so you're wide down here at the bottom and it tapers up. It allows you to really get your fingers in there and grip it tight, and it has this pebbled texture in the pistol grip and in the forend. And I really like the pebbled texture. It's aggressive enough that when you grab a hold of it, it locks your hand in, but it's not so aggressive that it's going to wear holes in gear. The Magpul texture is really aggressive, and if you start rubbing gear across it quite a bit, you are going to start to wear through nylon, that kind of thing. So just one of those minor differences between the two. One thing that is not a minor difference that I really like about the Titan 1022 stock is it already comes with flush cups installed, and you've got two flush cups on either side. I actually have a sling mounted on the left side of the rifle right now. Having those flush cups already installed, ready to go, is a really nice option. So I like not having to buy extra pieces for that, and it's something really small. You can go ahead and have those already molded in, already ready to go. I don't have to mess with putting hardware in or pounding QD cups into the stock. They are ready to go. Now on the bottom here, I do have a rail installed. This is, and again, an additional accessory that you have to purchase from Victor Company, and it does have the screw threads already in the stock, so you are screwing into metal threads. So you just purchase the metal rail that goes in here. It is an aluminum anodized rail, and the screws are already ready to go. They're included with the rail, so you bolt it on and you're good. It's solidly affixed in there. I Loctited it in, haven't had any problems with it coming loose. If you decide not to go that route, there are two sling studs up here. So one for your standard Harris type bipod, and then another to mount your sling, and then you do have the sling stud at the back. So overall, you've got two flush cups on either side, two studs at the front and one stud at the rear. So you have quite a few options on how to get your sling mounted up on this guy. Now, as I mentioned, the forend is a little bit flexible on both of the Titan 1022 stocks that we've had through here. The gap has been slightly uneven between the barrel. Again, we do have a little bit of flex, so I can sit here and I can push the barrel back and forth very easily. If I really load this bipod hard, then I get a little bit of flex as well, but not as much in the up to down as side to side. Now, I did have an issue before with a fiberglass stock that had a full pad in here, that when I loaded the bipod hard against an object like a barricade, or in this case it was nylon straps on a shooting mat, when I really placed my body weight into it, there's some flex in the fore end. Now, there is some flex in the fore end here, but we do have a fully free-floated barrel channel, so that little bit of flex does not equate to any pressure change on the barrel at all. And even loading it against a strap on a shooting mat with all of my body weight, I didn't notice any point of impact shift. So the stock, once you have the rifle installed in it, is very rigid. It's very consistent. I have started doing cold bore tracking with this rifle, and I have not noticed any shift that is attributable to the stock itself. Once I've got everything mounted in here and good to go, it seems to work great. So overall, my preference right now is for the Victor Company Titan 1022. That is not to say that the Magpul X-22 is a bad stock by any length of the imagination. This stock works very well. It is just not my cup of tea. My preference is for the 1022. If you already have an X-22, don't send me hate mail saying that you absolutely love the stock and I'm crazy. Again, a lot with rifle shooting and rifle setup is personal preference. If you have a Hunter 700 on your Remington 700 bolt gun and you're setting up a 1022, I say absolutely positively go with the X-22. If you don't have a 700 that's set up in that manner, or you have a 700 that's set up with an A5 type stock, then I say absolutely go with the Victor Company Titan 1022. But if you're starting from fresh, you're just setting up a rifle for NRL 22 competition, then I say the Titan 1022 is my pick for that type of setup. In addition, Victor Company is a sponsor of NRL 22, so they are sending a lot of product and a lot of help to get that competition off. And while that doesn't really have any bearing on the product review itself, it does give you an idea of Victor Company as a company itself. And I really like to see that. Magpul has done a lot to help a variety of different shooting competitions and shooting sports. Most people that have been in the shooting sports for a while know that. So both companies are great to deal with. I just love to see that Victor Company is helping get the NRL 22 thing rolling and off to a great start. Now, that is just my opinion of these two stocks, but I really want to hear what you have to say. If you have a Magpul X-22 or a Victor Company Titan 1022, please drop me a comment down below and let me know how they've been working for you. I love to hear what you guys have to say on products and how they've been working for your specific use. So please drop me a comment down below, or you can send us comments on Facebook or Twitter. Now, I will have a full breakdown of everything that you see on this rifle right here coming soon. We've covered it in a couple of our Mail Call Mondays episodes, but I am getting ready to change some things on this rifle. So once we do that, I will come back through and I will talk about everything to include how well the Athlon optic has been working for us. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you like the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, get out and shoot.